The Blue Jays win a thriller in extra innings, 7-6 over the Baltimore Orioles as they move to 9-7 on the year. In a game they really didn't have any business winning based on their lack of fundamentals. Just tremendously bad execution in the fielding department and base running. And yeah, they are lucky to come away with this one. But hey, a win is a win and we take it. Good job battling back and not giving up and, pulling through for the victory here. This isn't a win I think that we pull out in previous years. The last couple of years, definitely. So, you know what? We take it. We've lost some bad games. Now we won an ugly one. Let's get into it. Cade Povich throwing for the Orioles. He starts the game off 3 up, 3 down. He gets, Bo Bichette lines out to center field. It was a really nice hit on his part, just bad luck. And then he gets Guerrero Jr. and Santander to strike out, looking on both accounts. And then Jose Barrios had a rough start in this one as he lets up runs in the first 4 innings. So in the first inning, it was on a wild pitch as I believe he had 2 on here. Yeah, so he had Gunnar Henderson singled and then O'Hearn singled. And then the wild pitch, O'Hearn moves up to second and Henderson scores before getting Mullins to strike out. So it's 1-0 Baltimore through the first inning. In the top of the second, Kirky draws even with his first home run of the year, and he benefited greatly from that moved in left field wall as he goes 389 feet to left center, drawing even 1-1. Bottom of second, like I mentioned, another run scores as Ryan Mountcastle goes deep to left. Again, taking advantage of that moved-in wall, as it's now 2-1 Baltimore through the second inning. Top of 3, Blue Jays keep trying to draw even here as Davis Schneider singles to left to start it off. Bichette then singles to right, so you got Schneider to third. First and third, none out. Going to be a big inning, right? Vladdy Guerrero Jr. singles to right. Schneider scores. Bichette moves up to second. First and second, no out with a run already across. This is insane. Santander then lines out to center field. Bichette's able to move up. Vladdy doesn't tag this time like yesterday. And then Springer unfortunately grounds into a double play to third. So you got the 1 run across. You drew even. That's what you wanted there, but it should have been a much larger inning. And this is really haunting us to this point in the year. Bottom of 3, Gunnar Henderson comes out, triples to center. It says he tripled. It was, I won't call it an error because, it would have been a halfway tough play for Anthony Santander, but this is really the trade-off you make when you say you want more power bats in the lineup and you want your sluggers. This is the other side of that coin, right? Where they're typically not the best fielders, and if they are really good fielders and sluggers, they're getting, $40 million a year and not the contract that Anthony Santander got. So you take the good with the bad. He, I believe this one had like an 85-86% catch probability, but it was a ripped ball by Henderson as well. He's unable to catch it. He kind of falls, dives, trying to reach for it. Anyways, Henderson ends up on third. Rutschman then grounds into a fielder's choice, scoring him. And then luckily Barrios is able to settle in and limit the damage there. So it's 3-2 Baltimore through 3. Povich then gets us out in prompt fashion in the 4th, and the Orioles are at it again in the bottom of the 4th with Tyler O'Neill leading the inning off with a home run. So yeah, 1 run in each of the first 4 innings from Baltimore as it's now 4-2 through 4. Where have we seen this before, right? You're thinking we've got all these missed opportunities, things are not going great, and probably the managerial question of the day in the top of the 5th inning, if I'm honest. So Davis Schneider gets walked. Bichette grounds into a fielder's choice. Guerrero Jr. then reaches on an infield single. So you've got 2 guys on. Santander grounds out, moving the runners up to second and third, and you got George Springer at the plate. He takes a strike and starts shaking out his hand, and the announcers right away are saying the hamate bone, like something doesn't look right there. He's really grimacing. He takes a couple half-hearted swings on deck. The training staff come out and squeeze his hand and everything. He's saying, you can see him on the broadcast going, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But he clearly wasn't. He ends up getting strike 2 from Brian Baker, who's throwing high fastballs and 98 miles an hour at him. He basically drops the bat after the strike 2 swing, and then after the strike 3 swing, he drops the bat altogether, runs off the field, and goes down the tunnel, clearly hurt. So, between George and John Schneider and the training staff there, he had to be pulled from the game, and that is just I don't want to say unforgivable, but man, that is a big F-up at this point in the game with 2 runners on, in scoring position. You've got a guy who's clearly hurt there, dealing with 98-mile-an-hour high fastballs, and props to Baker for going right after him, knowing that he was hurt. Just really bad stuff there that at that moment felt like it could have cost us a real shot at this game. Jose Barrios finally settles in the bottom of the 5th as he gets 3 up, 3 down through the Orioles order there, and people were saying online, go to the bullpen here, but I'm really glad he was able to get that 5th inning because it really set us up for later in the game. So really good way of gutting it out there for Jose Barrios. It was really some clutch pitching there, getting that extra inning for us. Keegan Aiken comes out in the top of the sixth, and the Blue Jays get some more runs through here as they go. Jimenez grounds out to second, then Kirky strikes out to start the inning, but Ernie Clement, who had a heck of a day, ends up doubling to left, and Miles Straw singles him in. Both those guys were clutch today, and Davis Schneider. Davis Schneider comes up and walks immediately after before Bo Bichette strikes out swinging. I'll go over the box score at the end, but the bottom of the lineup really came through for us today. Good stuff. Nick Sandlin's out to pitch for us, and he got the short end of the stick here as he gets Tyler O'Neill to pop out to the pitcher. Kierstad then doubles to right, but that was really the only legit hit off of him. Mountcastle's then safe at first on a fielding error by Bo Bichette where he just gloved it in a really odd fashion, just couldn't come up with it. It was a bizarre play on his part. And then Holiday ropes one right at Vladdy on the ground, and it kind of skips off the heel of his glove, up his arm, goes down the right field line, and it ends up scoring 2. So it goes from a 4-3 Oriole lead to a 6-3 Oriole lead on a couple of errors by Bo and Vladdy. Not what you want to see. Sandlin gets pulled from the game there. Again, I don't really want to hold that against him because he got ground balls, which is what you want there, and we were just unable to execute defensively. Brendan Little, pitching for Toronto, comes in, gets Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman to fly out. So really crucial stuff there from Brendan Little coming in and getting 2 tough bats out. Great work by him. Then you move on to the 7th, where Wagner's now into the game for Springer, but unfortunately they're unable to do anything as they get Guerrero, Santander, and Wagner out in order. And we'll skip ahead here to the top of the 8th. So it's 6-3 Baltimore at this point, top of the 8th. Greg Soto comes into pitch, and he hasn't let up a run yet this year. Jimenez leads off with a double, so he doesn't care about Soto's, perfect season going on so far as, the lefty-on-lefty battle there. He hangs in, and I'll just take a look here. He did have 2 strikes on him, I thought so. So he had 1 ball, 2 strikes, and he ends up doubling off of a 97-mile-an-hour sinker. Kirky then doubles to left immediately after him, scoring Jimenez, making it 6-4. Heineman runs for Kirky. Clement reaches on an infield single to shortstop, using his wheels to get on base. Miles Straw does something we haven't seen much of in recent years as he lays down a perfect sac bunt, moving both runners up into scoring position. Great job by Miles Straw there. And then a ground ball to the right side from Davis Schneider ends up getting the run across, making it 6-5. Bo Bichette follows that up with a single to left, scoring Clement. We've drawn even. It's 6-6 in the top of the 8th, and Guerrero Jr. grounds out to the pitcher, ending the inning. But we're back tied. We're liking our odds. You're thinking we are owed this one by the baseball gods at this point. We've lost a couple ugly ones where we've really shot ourselves in the foot. We've played a really ugly game in this one as well. But luckily, we got away with it, and it's looking like, we've got a real shot in this game. Jimmy Garcia comes in to pitch the 8th. He goes 3 up, 3 down. And then in the top of 9, the mistakes this team has made. There was a running error by Jimenez earlier in the game, breaking home and getting thrown out. Anthony Santander doubles to right field. Then they bring in Nathan Lucas to pinch run for him. He promptly gets caught sleeping as Adley Rutschman throws down to second, catching him off guard, and he takes off for third. They throw down, tag him out easily. Just an absolute brain-dead play. And luckily in the bottom of the 9th, he made a really nice sliding/diving grab to kind of redeem himself. But man, that was a kick, because when you don't score in the top of the 9th, you're just thinking, great, something bad's going to happen in the bottom, and that's going to come back to bite us. Luckily, it didn't. Jeff Hoffman in the game. He lets up a double to Adley Rutschman, but then gets O'Hearn to strike out and Westberg to fly out, preserving the tie, moving into extras. And again, one of those catches was Nathan Lucas making a really nice grab to end the game, to end the 9th there, that Westberg flyout. So props to him for keeping his head in the game and executing. In the top of 10, Bowman's pitching for Baltimore. Heineman fouls out to third base. He had a good at-bat, but couldn't come through. Ernie Clement then singles again. I believe he had 4 hits this game. Jimenez moves up to third, who was the runner on second. Miles Straw then reaches on an infield single to third. Jimenez scores. Clement moves up. Roden grounds into a fielder's choice to the pitcher. Straw gets thrown out at second, and then Bichette promptly lines out to shortstop. A heck of a piece of contact by Bo Bichette. It was a nice hit, just directly at Gunnar Henderson. So, tough break there. With the runner on second base, you're really hoping that we had pushed across more than one there, but luckily Jeff Hoffman comes out for a second inning of work and gets him to go 3 up, 3 down as he gets Mullen, O'Neill, and Laureano. So really, really clutch pitching there from Hoffman. The bullpen looked amazing, and what I'll do here is I'll move on to the box scores. So here's how the hitters fared. We got Bo Bichette going 2 for 6. And he had a really solid game. He made some really nice contact. 2 for 6 is nothing to scoff at, but his results probably should have been even better the way he was hitting the ball. Really good stuff out of him. Vladdy, 2 for 5, got the RBI. He had an all right game. Santander, 1 for 5. He had that key double in the ninth that unfortunately was unable to score anything. But you still need to see him get a little bit more done, especially with all these runners in scoring position, as he's really not coming through there right now. George Springer, he's hurt. Hopefully he's not out for too long the way he's been playing. Just go figure, hey, as soon as he's really got things figured out, it looks like he might miss some time with that hand injury. Hopefully there's not a break in there, but it didn't look good. Andres Jimenez came through 2 for 5. He caused a little bit of chaos on the bases as he got a stolen base. We're liking that out of him. But then he got thrown out at home on that rough play where he probably should have retreated to third. But you know what? It is what it is. Kirky gets the first home run of the year, as I mentioned. He finally kind of pulling through here and starting to get on the board. Clement, 4 for 5. Huge day out of him. Basically as much as you could ever hope for out of somebody out of the bottom of your order. Miles Strauss, same way, had the big sack bunt, went 2 for 4. He looked great. And Davis Schneider worked a couple walks and went 1 for 2. So really good stuff out of the bottom of the order, setting the table for the top. And I think it's just a matter of time before they start coming through more frequently. And now we'll take a look at the pitching side of things. As they really, Jose Barrios, he did get touched up in those first 4 innings, but he settled down and he got that 5th inning clean. And then the bullpen took over and did their job. Sandlin came in, Little came in, Fluharty came in and got a whole inning without letting up any runs. He's looking great the last few outings. Jimmy Garcia and Jeff Hoffman, that is why they're paid the big bucks. They come in the tie game with the lead, and they're your shutdown guys that can go blow for blow with basically any bullpen out there. So yeah, really nice stuff out of the bullpen. Really nice stuff out of Jose Barrios getting that 5th inning done for us. Can't ask for more out of your bullpen. Phenomenal stuff. And it wasn't a pretty win by any means. There were a lot of mental mistakes that will need to be tidied up here. But the Blue Jays get it done, and that's what matters here. So anyways, that's where we'll leave off today. And if you guys were watching the game, if you were having a tough time there with your heart rate, with your blood pressure, let me know. Leave your comments below, all right? We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.